What's up everybody, it's your man I Do a Barber back with another video, and in this one I'm giving advice for my teenage barbers out there that are looking to either get into the industry or who are new to the industry and don't know what to expect out of barbering, out of life. And I'm actually looking to give back to you guys as a person who's in my 40s and someone who was in his teens who was given advice from people in their 40s and 50s and chose to really ignore it even though I knew the advice was good. I'm gonna give this back to you guys because I feel that I need to pay it back to you guys. But the only thing is that I hope you guys smash the like button. But no, seriously, I hope that you guys take this advice, save this video, reference this video multiple times, because the 15 tips that I'm gonna give you in this video will definitely set you up to have a better future and a better tomorrow. Now, here's the thing. I'm giving you 15 tips. I can give you a whole lot more. But as far as for barbering and life, overall, I've summed it up into these 15 things. Tip number one, in no particular order, is be a sponge. This is the part of your life where you're learning the most outside of your earlier years in life. You're learning so much. And remember, you need to always be learning. So just because you learn a lot in this portion of your life doesn't mean that you're going to stop in your 20s and 30s and 40s and not grow as a person. You're going to continue to grow and learn, but always be learning. The best investment that you're going to make right now is in yourself, not in your tools, not in a car or maybe the stock market or anything like this, real estate. The best investment is you, because the knowledge you have up here is what's going to create the money. Just because you put something somewhere else and it creates money for you and that sounds great, it will pale in comparison to what you have up here. Tip number two. Get into good habits. Get into this early. The idea of doing things the right way, being professional, being a stand-up person, being someone that has integrity, good morals, and living your life by these rules. There's so many distractions out here in life, whether it's social media, friends, TV, music, things like this. There's so many distractions and influences, especially as a teen. I mean, imagine like people in their 30s and 40s are influenced all the time, and that's what a lot of these major companies and different things, they're actually vying for our attention with different advertisements, different ways of promoting and marketing. They're actually vying for your attention. So you want to get into good habits that will lead you in the future. When you get into your 20s, a lot of these things will apply just as they do in your teens. And one of the best habits you can do when you're in your teens is budgeting. Learn how to budget. Learn the top end and the bottom end. All of the money that you have coming in, and then the money that you have left over after expenses. Learn how to budget right now, because this is going to be very important as you go into your 20s. Or if you watch the video on the advice for barbers in their 20s and 30s, you're gonna see how important budgeting really is once you get into later portion of your life. So get into this habit now. Now, number three follows what I just mentioned later, and number two is save to invest. This is what I want you guys to get into the habit of, saving to invest when you're early. Now, the earlier you start with investing, the better, because the more time you have on your hands, the more time compound interest will have to compound for you over time. Once you get in your late 20s, 30s, and 40s, you can actually be in a very good position to retire in your late 30s or 40s, depends on how aggressive you are, and also depends on when you start. Now, here's the thing. The earlier you start investing, the less money that you will actually need to invest to reach an end goal. So let's say you're 15 years old and you want to have $1 million in a stock market account by the age of 45. You take the number that you would have to invest at 15, bump that up to 25, because let's say, hey, I just want to have fun from age 15 to 25. I'll just start at 25. The number that you're going to have to invest at age 25 is going to be much higher than the number you would need at age 15. And the thing is, that's the problem, because you've got compounding on your side early. By you starting early, that means you need a lesser amount to reach that end goal versus you waiting to 25, you're going to need a much higher number. So your multiple, as you get older, lowers. When you're younger, your multiple is much higher. So please save to invest. I don't want you to just save money. I want you to save to invest. Now, for my teenagers out there, especially if you're not 18, see if your parents can open you up a 529 or a custodial account where you can just invest money automatically every single month. I don't care what the amount is. whether it's $50, $100, it's not that difficult. Especially when you're a kid under the age of 18, you don't have any responsibilities, you're living with your parents, you have no expenses really, maybe you're paying a phone bill, maybe. You easily have $100, put $100 consistently a month into an investment account and let this money compound over time. Get into the habit of this now, because again, it plays into number 2, getting into good habits. And once you get used to this, it seems normal, just like breathing, and you're not gonna bat an eye once it comes time to deposit this money and also put it on autopilot. Number 4, do not compare yourself to others. In this earlier age of the teens and 20s, or even 30s, I'm just gonna be honest, it affects a lot of people in different age ranges, but especially for the teens. There's a lot of comparisons out there, a lot of people that want to look at other people's success and compare that to themselves, or use other people as a measuring stick to their success. You have to find out what's good for you first and then work your plan. Don't just look at someone that's in a position and maybe doing something cool that you may like and feel jealous or feel like, oh, you're not doing the right thing to get there. You don't know. Maybe you're 15 and this person's 35 and they've worked really hard to get it to this point, but you're only 15. Maybe someone's 17 and they're here, or maybe they're the same age as you are and they're here and did something. All these things take time. Do not compare yourself to others, because this is going to kill your joy. It's going to kill your happiness when you're always worried about what someone else is doing. When you're worried about, oh, this person has this many followers, or oh, this person's haircuts are this much. Oh, this person is making more money than me. Worry about yourself and worry about your goals. Figure out some goals that you want in life and work constantly on achieving those goals and make that your happiness, not others. Number 5, choosing the right friends and influences. This is very important. We all know, we've heard this saying, surround yourself with 5 people you can tell you what your future is going to look like based on the 5 friends that you have. Find a good group of 3 or 5 that have similar goals, that have similar interests, and you guys can feed off each other and just become monsters together. Don't just hang around like crazy people and have meaningless relationships. Again, going back to number 2, getting into the good habit of this, because so many times you see a lot of teenagers saying like, oh, I have so many friends, or oh, I've got like 100 friends. You don't have 100 friends. You just have 100 acquaintances. Let's just be honest. The older you get, the less friends you're gonna have. I'm just gonna tell you this right now, and you might find this hard to believe maybe as a teenager, but I'm telling you right now, the older you get, the less friends you're gonna have. And your circle, honestly, should be very small, especially the more success you have. The bigger the circle you have, the more problems you're gonna have, the more headaches you're gonna have, the more stress you're gonna have, because you're gonna actually have to have this juggling act of worrying about like hanging out with this friend, that friend, worrying about this, worrying about that, all the little silly dramas, because hey, they're your friends, so they're gonna come to you for silly different things, maybe money, maybe time, and these are the worst things. Time you cannot get back, money you can, and it really stresses a relationship when you're having to worry about time and money. So the right influences in your life is very important, and also get someone that you can look up to, that you can bounce ideas off of. We call it a mentor. Find someone like this that can really help you guide some of your decisions, some of your ideas, and things like this that can hold you accountable. Someone who you will actually believe and trust to help guide you in life. This will help you. Now, let's be honest. Do you need a mentor to be successful? No, you don't, but it will help. Number 6, think ahead. Now, I want you to start projecting. I want you to start thinking 5 to 10 years ahead and actually start doing some goal setting. I want you to start thinking about, where do I see myself in 5 years? Where do I want my career to be in 5 years? Don't just think about, your goal in barbering. You should have multiple goals, whether it's career goals, financial goals, personal goals, health goals. You need to have multiple things and think ahead and project. You want to be a person who thinks with foresight, not someone who's just thinking about the next day or the next week. Think 5 to 10 years ahead. So some of you young guys, if you're dating chicks, you may have met the father, right? And he's like, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you probably couldn't tell him anything. I used to think this was kind of silly. I'd be like, man, why are they asking this? But it's actually very important. What father, or let's just think in your case, who knows, maybe you're a teen and actually has a child. And if you have a daughter, think about this. Would you want your daughter to bring home a guy who, if you ask him, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years? He has no idea where he's gonna see himself in 5 years. He has no idea of his goals or like what he wants out of life, his ambitions, like nothing. He's just like, oh, I don't know. Do you really think you would want your daughter to be in the hands of a man like this? Think about it. So I want you guys to think ahead. As you see, different attire, different day. Boy, I got busy that day and I've been busy the days after. Now I actually have a break to continue this list. So smash the like button for the dedication. I think we're at number 7. Get life insurance and a will. This is very important. The younger you can get this, the cheaper the price is. And I know some of you are like, oh man, like I don't want to just throw money away. It's good insurance for your loved ones that you leave behind, because you don't want to leave them with the burden of trying to bury you. At least get if you don't care about getting $500,000 or $1 million in a policy, at least get a burial policy. Either way, it costs the cost of a pizza. I'm pretty sure at the ripe age of a teenager, you're probably wasting that money anyway. And also draw yourself up a quick will of where you want your assets to go. But let's just be honest, at that age, you probably don't have many assets. But if you do, it may be something to consider. But definitely when you get older, this is very important. Number 8, figure out when you want to retire and how much money you're gonna need in retirement. This is some very good foresight for a teenager, because I want you to get in the mindset of doing this now, thinking about where you want your life to be maybe 20 to 30 years from now, what type of life you want to live in retirement, how much money you're actually going to need to fulfill the lifestyle that you want in retirement. Start thinking about this stuff now, because it will put a lot of things into perspective now and really get you on track to your goals and start having you start to check boxes, because this stuff is very important. And I want you to do this now, even though maybe you may not be as serious. Your retirement goal or your monetary goal or whatever may change in 5 years. That's okay, but at least you're on a goal-driven path. Number 9, get good tools. Get in the habit of this now. Yes, I know you're young, you're a teenager, you may not have the money, but at least invest in good tools. I want you to get in the habit of doing this now, because once you get into the profession, you get into the barbershop or wherever you land, you're actually in the habit of buying good tools regularly. Remember, this stuff is a tax write-off, so it is tax deductible. So yes, you might be paying, let's say hypothetically, $100 for something, but with the write-offs, you're not paying $100 for it. And you're gonna need the write-offs every year, because hey, if you're making good money, you're going to need the tax write-offs. So get good tools. I think we're at number 10, and that is have an emergency fund. This is one of the most important things. Now look, if anyone didn't learn anything from 2020 and maybe any other years or any tragedies or hiccups that you've had in life, having an emergency fund will offer that nice layer of protection for you in something stupid or crazy, chaotic happening. And you want to have at least, and it all depends, 3 to 6 months, maybe even more of expenses. Now look, you're self-employed, you're a barber. I suggest that you have more, because you have little room for error. You don't have a job that's secure unless you work at a place where you get an actual paycheck. But if you're self-employed, you're worried about week in, week out, whether income, it all fluctuates. It's never the same. If you look at your book, because you should be balanced in your book, look at it. No week is ever the same. You might have a slow week here, you might have a slow week there. This is why you need that layer of protection and having an emergency fund. Now, of course, you're a teenager, you don't have very many expenses, so your emergency fund should be fairly low. But the older you get, that emergency fund will be bigger. You're gonna have to close the gap, because of course, life happens. Maybe you have a family, you take on a lot of extra debts or whatever, but you want to have this emergency fund. This is very important. Number 11, avoiding bad relationships. You want to do this on many different levels. When you talk about professionally, you want to keep your relationships warm. Now, I get it, and I'm guilty of this myself, where you get busy and you don't reach out to people as much as you should or could. But try and keep your relationships as warm as possible, especially your professional relationships. You also don't want to burn bridges. This is very bad in this profession, because it's a small industry. As big as it is, it's very small. Word travels fast. A lot of people know each other. However, but the lineage of friends from one place to the next, it's actually quite small, and you'll be very surprised how many people actually know each other. And this is why it's important in avoiding bad professional relationships and not burning bridges, because you never know when you might need something from someone later, or maybe a connection that you have connects to this person that maybe you burned a bridge. You cannot use this connection because you burned a bridge. Avoid it there. Now, personally, you want to avoid hooking up with a lot of chicks as far as being in boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, the PC relationship. Avoid meaningless relationships because this is going to get you nowhere. At this age, when you're this young, you should be focusing on yourself, getting your capital up, working on your profession, and actually trying to gain some assets. So do not hop in and out of meaning relationship after meaning relationship after meaningless relationship. You see a lot of people doing this, and this is to their downfall because this takes a lot of energy, this takes a lot of time, and sometimes money. And we all know time you cannot get back, money you can, and it's the worst when you're wasting both of them at the same time. So avoid bad relationships, especially when it comes to women. Now look, I'm not saying don't get a girlfriend or don't get married, but make sure it is the right partner. Take the time to actually see if this is the person you want to spend some time with, because of course this is important. This is your time. And of course, if you're dealing with marriage, that's on a totally different level, because then you're going to take on some of the problems that she has. And at that point, when you're in a position to win, when you're in boss status, you should be adding a mate that can help you grow and build and is an asset to you, not a liability where she has tons of debt. You know, maybe she doesn't have a career, maybe she has a bunch of student loans, maybe she needs to go back to school, and you have to float the bill because, hey, you're boss level status, you have all your stuff together, credit's good, everything, and she doesn't. So you don't want to add someone to your pool that is not holding their own weight. And this is what I say about avoiding bad relationships. You want to really focus on yourself. And I know some of you are gonna be like, man, you know, my friends are out here doing it, they're out the clubs, partying, doing this and that. Trust me on this, trust me on this, trust me on this. If you focus and grind for about a good 10 to 15 years, trust me, you're not gonna miss anything. You think you're missing out on something now, but I'm here to tell you, trust me, you aren't, because life is a lot better later, and especially when you have all of your affairs in order. Number 12, do not, and I repeat, do not have kids. You're a teenager, for crying out loud. You don't have a career. You don't have steady income. You don't have a lot of your stuff together, more than likely. Probably like a high 90% of teens don't have their life together. It makes no sense for you to bring a kid in the world when you're trying to get your career on track and get your life in order, and you really don't have a direction or know where you want to be in life. You probably can't picture yourself anywhere in the next 5 to 10 years. So do not have kids. Avoid this at all costs. I always tell people there's nothing wrong with having kids and having children and growing a family, but do it at the right time and make sure you can afford the kids when that time comes, because I'm here to tell you, as a father of 2, kids are very expensive, and you being a teenager and trying to build yourself a career and actually learn, like right now you're in the learning process. You're trying to learn everything. You're trying to get better. You're trying to get to a level of mastery, and having kids and this can derail a lot of your dreams, because a lot of times when people have kids and they're put in a tight spot, especially at a young age, they're forced to do things that they don't want to do because they just have to do what it takes to put food on the table and keep kids happy and everything else. So avoid having kids. Number 13, get your barber license. Now, if you're not 18, or let's say you're in high school, work on getting your barber license. Whether you're having plans as soon as you graduate to go and get your barber license immediately, I would recommend you start working now, saving up money, and you can actually put yourself in a position where you can graduate from high school and go right into barber college and boom, 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 get your career started. Or if you are in high school, I would say seek out a high school that potentially has this program of barber college, whether it's barber college or cosmetology. And here's what I want you to do, because here's what can happen. You can hop into the cosmetology program through a high school. What they do is, once you graduate, you'll have your license. As soon as you graduate high school, you'll have your license. And hypothetically, let's just say you're 18. You have your license already. Yeah, you may not want to be a cosmetologist, but you can easily just pay more than or less than half the cost of barber college, like a fraction of it, and just do a crossover program, and then hop right into barber. Or you can just work as a barber with your cosmetology license. I'm here to tell you, no one really cares. I'm gonna be honest, when someone comes to a barbershop, no one's really looking to see like, hey, is this a cosmetologist or a barber? No one's really looking at the license to see if they're, ooh, are you a cosmetologist or a barber? all that really matters is that you can cut hair. But that is one way you can cut your cost of barber college, is by trying to find a school that actually has the cosmetology, or if you're lucky, the barber program, where you can graduate at the, your senior year with your license in hand, ready to work. And then at that point, you already have skills because you would have been cutting on your own, you will have been cutting at school and things like this, and now you're really ready to work and get your career started. There are so many advantages of having your barber license than there are not having your barber license. I can give you many examples of and benefits of why it's beneficial to have your barber license than it is to not have your barber license. Yes, you can be successful without it, but it's a lot better when you do have it, because it allows you to do so many things. You can travel with it, you can go state to state, and of course you have to swap your license over, but that's small fries when it comes to everything else. Number 14, do not finance barber college. I'm here to tell you, do not do this. I see people all the time, especially when you go to the accredited schools. They finance barber college. They take out a student loan for barber college. And yes, I know barber college is getting expensive every year, every month, every day. I kid you not, the barber college I went to, when I signed up, it was $17,500. By the time I graduated, the price had went up already, and that was within 12 months. Who knows what the price is now, years later. So it's only getting more expensive. But I'm here to tell you, do not finance barber college, because here's one thing you don't want. You don't want to have debt once you get out of barber college and once you actually get into the profession, because here's one thing that happens with a lot of those people that do that. They don't pay the loans off in a timely manner, or they don't pay them off at all. So you don't want to have this lingering debt hanging around your head once you go into your career, and then especially those first few years where you're trying to build up a clientele and scrape together as much money as possible. You don't want to have the burden of a student loan, and then maybe you have an auto loan, and then you have rent or a mortgage, and you do not want these problems. So save up and pay it for cash. And a lot of times, especially with your age, being a teenager, you can qualify for a FAFSA or a grant somewhere, and it can offset the cost of barber college. And that's something you can do that's very, very easy, especially at that age. You probably don't have tons of income coming in, so you should definitely qualify. Do not take out a student loan for barber college. Listen to me, I'm telling you. Number 15, work on mastery. Now, we all know the 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell talks about, but you want to work on mastery of your career in this craft. Every day you're getting better. When you're working, I want you to work to get better. You may not make leaps and bounds of gains in between different cuts and whatever, but as long as you're making gains, that's all that matters, because in this career and in this craft, it takes time. So don't feel like, oh, in 2 years I have to be at this level because maybe you saw someone else do it. Maybe that's not the trajectory of your career. Maybe that's not it. Maybe you'll get there in 4 years, but nevertheless, you're gonna get there. So be patient, always strive to get better. Take classes, take courses, and don't cheap out on certain things. When you see the opportunity to take a class, take it, even if it costs money, because at the end of the day, it goes back to what I said earlier with the tools. This stuff is a write-off, and you want this stuff because it's just the smarter way of doing things. You can go out and go take a class and also have a vacation at the same time, so you're double dipping. It's great, but work on mastery. And there's no time frame. I know a lot of people, they get frustrated, they're a year into it and their fades aren't where they should be. It takes time. Sometimes there's that light bulb moment and you just turn a corner and everything just takes off like a hockey stick. It's like, boom. Who knows when that moment is gonna be for you? I don't know. I can't tell you, so don't ask me in the comments. But it will happen for you if you just take your time and just work on getting better. Just try to get better, please. I guess we're gonna do 16, so here it is. Establish and have a good relationship with credit now. I want you to get in the habit of this because this can be very detrimental to your future. A lot of people take out student loans, like we talked about, credit cards, mortgages, car loans. You want to get into a good relationship of debt and avoid a lot of things as you possibly can. Credit being one of them. If you do not know how to manage a credit card, please do not have one. This is very dangerous where you can just pay for something now and then pay later. This is very dangerous, especially for someone that's young, because you guys don't understand the concept of buy now, pay later, because you're gonna have to pay later, whether it's monetary or you're gonna pay with your credit score, and you're gonna actually pay later, because then you're gonna have higher interest rates, and then you're gonna pay more higher interest rates on other loans or whatever that you take out. So you're gonna pay some way, somehow, but establish a good relationship with credit now, and also avoid car loans. As you see here, if you take a $500 car payment stretch it out over 10 years, and if you were to invest that money at an 8% return, you see how much money that would lend you over the 10 years. So avoid auto loans at this stage of your life as a teenager. Avoid credit cards and avoid student loans. You want to have a good relationship with these things if you know how to manage it. Of course, have a credit card. I'm not against it at all. I have them myself, but you want to establish a good relationship with having credit cards and using them. But definitely avoid auto loans at this stage of your life. You have no business doing this stuff right now. I know your friends might drive this or that, and it might seem tempting to try this or that, but you want to avoid this at all costs. Just buy a nice little cash car, ride around with this until you can get your career together, because you doing this and adding this to a part of your budget is going to keep you behind. It's going to keep you from getting ahead, and what we're going to talk about once you get into your 20s and the things that you should do. And you saw the example there of how far that money could take you. I don't want this to hold you back. I want this to be something that you can use going forward. So I hope you guys got some value out of this one. Tune in next week as I talk about advice for barbers in their 20s. It's gonna be a lot of what I said here, but we're gonna start transitioning because you're getting older. There's more responsibilities that are kicking in, and you gotta be more responsible, and you gotta take life to the next level. So tune in next week. I hope you got value from this. Share this with any teenager that you know that's striving to be a barber, or even just a teenager in general, because there's a lot of good life lessons in here. I'll see you guys next time. It's been your man, I do it, signing out. I'll holla.